All right. Well, hi, everybody. This is Dr. Sonia McGowan with Covenant Pediatric Wellness Center. And I am so happy to be here with my friend and fellow mom, Heather White. Hi, Heather.
Hi.
So you're in Kansas City. I'm in Jeff City. So we're a couple of hours away in Missouri. You have two boys,
Mhm.
and you have been on quite an experience, quite a journey.
Yes,
So start by
definitely.
telling me about your family and your boys.
Okay, so I'm a single mom living in Kansas City with Benson, who is 12, and Leo, who is 9. Both of them are very different, 100% different on every level. So that makes life interesting, and we life a lot in our house, if that makes sense. Our family is pretty great. I work in mental health, and my passion is youth education, specifically suicide prevention. So I do have a background in mental health and all the things mental health wise. So I feel like that has helped a lot just in this journey in general. But then my two boys are very different. So I have Benson, who is literally a 12-year-old that acts like a 40-year-old with a mortgage. As soon as I say that phrase to people, they laugh so hard because they're like, yep, that's your kid. Sounds just like him. So he's a great kid, loves drums, pretty funny, quirky funny, kind of dry humor. I think it's hilarious. Some people don't. But he's a great kid, super sweet, very aware of what's going on around him. So he's a good kid. And then I have Leo, who is 9. He's just my sweet little baby who acts like a 9-year-old, but sometimes acts like a 6-year-old. He's super sweet, loves cuddly animals, cuddly stuffed things. Has some sensory stuff going on. So he's that kid that wants to hug you all the time and just wants to be happy. He's a watcher and likes to see things from a distance. So that's kind of who he is as a person a little bit.
He's got
Yeah.
killer dimples.
Oh, yes. Both of my kids have great dimples. Benson has one, Leo has 2, and they're just magical. So the
Oh my
genetics
gosh.
are amazing. That's the great part.
Seriously. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they both are such sweet souls that,
Yes, they are.
and that just really comes through when you're with them for
Yeah.
sure.
Yes.
So two boys, same family, very different.
Mhm.
Even pre pans,
Yes.
right? They're just really different humans.
Yes.
So when you look back now, did you see, and when did maybe you see some inklings that something wasn't quite the way you would expect?
Yeah. So I feel like anyone who goes through this experience, you will always have I wish I would have known. Like, I wish I would have known more. I wish I would have understood more, because when I look back now, Benson was first to be diagnosed, and he had some pretty significant symptoms. So when he was about 8, every once in a while he would blink for a few days, and then it would go away. He also had some dysregulated emotions sometimes, but everything that we experienced, he had some throat clearing, some anxiety, sensory issues, a few things, but it would only last for a few days and then go away. And that was about 7, 8 that started. By the time, and I had talked to doctors, I had talked to the pediatrician, they have a pulmonologist because both my kids have asthma. And then we also talked to a variety of other people. And every time I would talk about each individual symptom, they'd be like, that's normal for their age. That's okay. Kind of justifying, oh, it's dry eyes or this or that. Like, there was always some sort of justification. And at the time, if you say that one single thing, of course, people are going to be like, oh, just try to justify it. But what would happen is over time, we would see those patterns kind of a little more consistent. But then they would go away after a few days. So it was very confusing. And then right before 5th grade for Benson, he got sick. So it was the first week of school. He got really sick. In September 1st, 2023, I remember the date specifically. He came home, he was really sick, and he started ticking, like full ticks that were very confusing to me, like where his whole face would move, his eyes would move, not just the gentle blinks that he was having before. So I panicked. I'm like, oh my gosh, my kid has neurological stuff going on. What's the deal? But on top of that, he also started showing severe OCD signs, which I thought I understood OCD until I experienced it on a daily level and talked through it with my children because they both have it. So he showed a lot of signs, but the weird thing for us, and I remember it, 6 p.m. on September 1st, 2023, he goes, Mom, I have a loose tooth. He's messing around. I have a loose tooth that I've never, that wasn't loose. And I walked from our kitchen into the living room. He goes, I think it's loose. And he pulled it out. And after that moment, he changed. Like there's something about the tooth coming out and the inflammation and all the things. So he had tics, OCD, severe OCD that had to do mostly with cleanliness, sanitary things, dates, times, things like that. So his OCD was a little rough. He would have headaches a lot, joint pain, social anxiety it was horrible. We got to the point where we struggled to get him out of the house sometimes. Kids at school started saying things because of the ticking and he couldn't control it. And sometimes he didn't even know it was happening. But then he would come home and say, my head hurts, my neck hurts, like all these physical things that go along with that. But then the mental part of it started to come in as well. So this all happened in a day. All these things happened. So we had symptoms before that, but when they talk about, when you're looking at PANS and PANDAS, a lot of times when you're reading, it'll say the way you can tell is that you have this automatic moment where this big thing happens. I was lucky enough to have that big thing with the tooth where it all made sense with Benson, but it was not like that with Leo at all. His was very different. But since we had already gone through the process with Benson and seen some of those signs, it definitely helped a lot. But we jumped through hoops for the first probably 3 months with Benson. We went to a mental health urgent care. We went to the hospital. We got referrals for a therapist, a psychiatrist, immunology, neurology, all these places. And of course, at that time, it was like, hey, there's a 9-month wait. And I'm like, my kid can't do this for 9 months. What are you talking about? So of course, I start reading everything I possibly can, trying to figure out what it is. I had eliminated down to it was something neurological, but then I didn't know. And then I eliminated it down to, oh, this is a whole body thing. This is his whole system, because before this, I thought every system was different. And that made it very hard. So it was great to see that process, because we went through all these places, got a lot of resources. But one of the best things I learned was going online to find other parents that were struggling. That was a great support just to reach out. But then I realized everybody has different experiences. So what was working for one person isn't going to work for another. And while I was trying to research PANS and PANDAS in general and trying to find a practitioner, which I live in Kansas City and it's hard to find people. We went to Children's Mercy, horrible experience with that. But I will say I've had experiences at Children's Mercy that have been great. But as far as PANS and PANDAS go, not a great experience at all. But we found a naturopath and I was like, hey, I'm struggling with my kiddo. I know that there's something on the inside that's messed up. I'm not really sure. She was amazing for us. She was like, I don't know much about this, but I can get his internal systems a little more regulated for you until you find somebody that can help you. And at that time, we were waiting on neurology. We were waiting on immunology, like 9-10 months wait. So that helped with Benson a little bit. And he was a little more regulated, but he was still struggling. And then we finally found you. And you were like, oh, I believe. No, first off, you were like, I believe what you're saying, which that in itself was so nice to hear, because most people are like, well, maybe it's your parenting. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And I'm like, I know that I don't do the best things as a mom sometimes, but I'm doing the best I can. And I feel like I'm doing what my kids might need. So that was kind of challenging at first, but we did get through that. And once we found you, you were like, these are the tests that we're going to do based on these symptoms. And literally it was magic. Within like a month, you were like, he has this, this, and this. This is how we treat it. These are the things we can do. The process isn't quick. It may take a few months, maybe even up to a year. But Benson is back to normal. Like he went from, I never thought he would be where he's at today based on where he was 2.5 years ago. Like my whole life, I spent every night crying and panicked and worried, like, what is this going to do to my kid for the rest of his life? How do I support him? How do I love him? How do I make him feel like he's okay? He's enough, based on these things he can't control. So that's Benson.
Whew. So what did we find? How did we test him? What infections did we find?
So he had Marcons in his nose. He also had Epstein-Barr. He has strep. Oh my gosh, there was like so many things with him.
Right.
I can't even remember all of them. You may have to tell me.
Yeah. So he had mycoplasma.
And that's been the biggest trigger for both of my kids. Every time they're around anyone with mycoplasma, they get sick, and that's when it kind of makes the whole system kind of fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's interesting, and we haven't talked about Leo yet, but one of my main memories of your boys, because I assessed them both on the same day,
yes,
is that when they walked in, Benson was by far the more severe boy. I mean, he had a tick literally multiple times a second.
Nonstop,
constant, like it never stopped. And Leo was just sweet and cuddly and doing okay. Like he had some issues, but it wasn't as in your face as Benson.
Yes.
But that changed. So tell us about Leo now.
Okay, so Leo was a little different. When he started his symptoms, it was the very end of school, the last week of school. He got sick, which it was mycoplasma. We know myco is kind of it's the system that makes us sick. Like it really messes everything up. But he got sick, really sick, wasn't doing well, and before that point, he didn't really show very many symptoms. He was an emotional kid, sensitive and emotional. So there was always points where I was like, he's very neurodivergent and he may be somewhere on the autism spectrum, but he wasn't anything where I was like, okay, he definitely has this and this, he just had a few traits. So I just thought he was a little more sensitive, might need a little more love, things like that. So he was good to go. And then he got sick. And then the first thing I noticed was he wasn't sleeping. So sleep was a huge issue for him. He was agitated. I started seeing some OCD behaviors, and he verbalized it because he saw his brother being able to verbalize it because we would talk through those things. So in our house, it's very safe to talk through anything that doesn't feel right, doesn't feel strange, like things that maybe they've had to mask all day long at school. They come home and it comes out at home. So he was having a lot of emotions. Separation anxiety was very bad for him, and it's very bad for him now. He's to the point right now where we're doing homebound school because he's struggling so much. Nothing happened at school, but he doesn't feel safe there. He has these OCD thoughts that school is not safe. He struggles with urinary incontinence. That was one of the first things that we noticed that was a struggle, and we've kind of gotten past that. But he was hard because when you saw him, we did a bunch of tests and you were like, he seems like some of his internal systems are not working, but he was doing okay. Otherwise, we couldn't find any specific tests, but he definitely wasn't detoxing the way he should. Neither one of my kids were ever really sweaters. They never sweat. Their bowel movements weren't always efficient. And as a kid, both of my kids, they were breastfed. And then when we switched over to milk, everybody was like, oh, this is normal. So they put it in your brain sometimes. Oh, it's normal for your kids not to have bowel movements every day if they're shifting to milk or this or dairy. And that was kind of hard for us because that in my mind was like, oh, well, I guess it's okay. And then I learned later on, no, like they should be detoxing everything every day, so we learned some different things as well through this process with that.
Eventually we found with Leo some infections though.
Yes.
That came up. So we found again mycoplasma. That is like your guys' enemy big time. Mm-hmm. We also found some mold exposure.
Yeah.
With Leo too, didn't we?
We did. And that's been kind of frustrating because we've had our house tested twice now just to make sure. I've tried to get reports from the school just to see, is there any mold in the school? We have made sure that that's not an issue. So I'm not sure where he was exposed to that, and it could have been in vitro. I worked at a job where it wasn't the healthiest environment, as far as we were next to a Pizza Hut where water was always flooding the carpets. And so when he was born, I was in a building every single day that had mold probably in it. At the time, I didn't realize that, but now that I look back,
Yeah.
I think that maybe that was part of it, where it could have been in vitro that I transferred over. So.
And for Benson, we did a sinus culture for both boys.
Yes.
For Benson, we found Marcons, which is a
Yes.
certain kind of staph overgrowing. But for Leo, we found MRSA, which again, staph, but a different kind, which was interesting too. Yeah. So now Benson went from being the more prominent child. Now things have swung over to Leo, where Benson's doing great, but Leo's really struggling.
Yes, yes. And so I will say there are days that I feel very emotional and worried about him. But then I also think, okay, Benson went through this and I was desperate and panicked, but we got through it. We figured out the path. We were patient and we were able to, step through the process one thing at a time, do all the things. And he's in a whole different world now. So in my head, I'm like, okay, Leo's going to get there. We just aren't there yet with him.
So the whole diagnostic process was just incredibly frustrating for you.
Yes.
So to another family who is in the place where you were a couple of years ago, where you're really trying to get this figured out, what sort of recommendations or, words of wisdom would you give?
Whew, so many things. First off, learn as much as you can. Secondly, document everything that you can. Patterns were a big thing. So any symptoms you see, document those, dates, times, anything that could be related or even not related, because you never realize how those patterns kind of exist and what new things that maybe you saw for a few days and then it went away. If it's weird to you, or if it seems like something that isn't right for your kids specifically, then note those, because that's important to start the process. And then when you go to doctors, realize we live in a society where most doctors want to just focus on one thing. So if you're a neurologist, you just want to focus on brain related stuff. If you're an immunologist, immune stuff, GI doctor, gut stuff. So realizing most people don't see the bigger picture of how it all affects you. And a lot of times, a lot of the testing that they do will be just within normal limits for average people, but for a kid that might have something affecting a certain body part, that might be a red flag. So the layers of different things can be hard to pick through, if that makes sense, to figure out what you need to focus on. But also the biggest piece of it was the gaslighting that I experienced was the hardest, because I would say, this is going on with Benson. We're really struggling. And they were like, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, well, it is a big deal. It's affecting our life every day. This is affecting him. So it's a challenge. It's a frustration. So that gaslighting has been super, super hard to manage. I can't even count how many times we walked out of doctor's offices where I was just holding it together till I could get to a bathroom and just bawl my eyes out. Like, why aren't they helping us? Why are they invalidating our experience? Why are they shaming us? Why, all the things. So, that was really hard. Knowing that, just keep asking, ask questions, and you're not stupid. As a parent, you are not, you are on the right path, because if you feel like it's not right for your specific child, then it's not right. Many people were telling me, oh, that's normal for kids. Not my kid. It wasn't normal for and I knew that. So just listen to your gut and know you may have people telling you things that don't track. They don't sit right. They don't feel right, because your kid, your kid is not okay.
So how are things now with each boy?
So Benson is doing amazing. He is thriving in school, social, still a 40-year-old with a mortgage. He's going to always have that personality, but he's doing really well, engaging. There are times where when he gets sick, he will tick. So we know that he's going to get sick because he'll start ticking a day or two before. And I'm like, oh no, you're going to get sick. And then he gets sick and then he's fine. So he'll tick for like a day or two, but it's mostly blinking or just a little here and there. And that's fine. Those have been socially hard for him now that he's in 7th grade. Kids will look and see those things. So that can be a challenge. But other than that, doing really well socially. OCD is under control. That was a huge thing for us. And some other challenges with that. So he's doing really well. Leo is I feel like he's in the tanking spot. Like we're treating all these things. So he's starting to tank down to it's all getting fixed and then he's going to go up because that's the progression we saw with Benson. So I'm assuming that's kind of where we're at with him. I'm fingers crossed. I'm hoping that that's what is going on. But overall, as a family, we're doing incredibly well talking about it. It's hard. I'm going to be honest. Every day is hard. I spend more time crying myself to sleep than just because I'm like, did I do all the right things today? Did I give them the support they needed? Was there something I could have done or learned differently or addressed differently? Because it can be so challenging to figure out how to support your child and also support the diagnosis, the things that aren't really your kid, but they're your kid because of what's going on in that moment. So, yeah, we adapt. Every day's an adapt. I'm always like, pivot, time to pivot again. Let's pivot some more. Is it bedtime? Because I'm tired.
So if you could give some advice in terms of what you wanted people to understand about pans and pandas, red flags, things to not ignore, things you wish you had known from the beginning, what would those things be?
I wish more people understood about OCD thoughts because I think a lot of times kids are misdiagnosed with everything but that because somebody might think, oh, those behaviors, the thoughts cause like ODD behaviors because a kid they're panicked and so they act and react because they can't use their words sometimes. I think a lot of times just understanding symptomology is crucial, but also being aware that you're not going to probably get everything you need from a regular mainstream doctor, which I hate saying that because it should be an option, but most doctors don't understand the dynamics of how it all works together and they don't want to see that. And I've even had doctors say that's not what I do. And I'm like, you're a neurologist. What?
It not be what you do.
Brain. Like, I don't understand. So that can be a little challenging, but I also think that just learning more. I think as a culture, as a society, we just don't know a lot about how the body and brain works together and how that affects the whole system. So knowing that, being patient, getting on as many sites based on symptoms that you see, like actual sites, not TikTok or something like, get on through sites where you're getting a knowledgeable education, read, but also be aware what works for your kid doesn't always work for other kids. And also being patient with yourself. There's a lot of shame a lot of times that goes into parenting a kid that you can't find the resources or the support for because you're like, what am I doing wrong? What should I have done differently? All the things, there's so much. Just thinking about one single crisis in your life and how hard that was for a small period of time. Now multiply that by every single day for years. That's what it's like for a parent who is struggling with this because it feels like a crisis every day because a lot of times it is like you're not able to manage behaviors, because it's not a behavior, it's a reaction to something that's on the inside. So, and that's why I think I was so obsessed with you, because you were like, the why matters. And I'm like, yes, it totally matters. And nobody else cares. Like, because I would say, but why is my kid doing this? And people would be like, it's just something that happens with kids. And I'm like, what? No, like, you don't which I understand. We don't know why a lot of things happen in the world, but there are certain things that we have learned. And when you know better, you should do better. And I feel like that doesn't happen a lot with doctors, because they're like, yeah, I can't put it on a diagnosis and I can't charge for it. So I'm not going to worry about it, So if that I don't know if I should say that, but I feel like that's what happens a lot of times. So,
well, and what you describe is basically it's neuroinflammation that's triggered by an infection.
yes.
I mean, it straight up, that's what it is. And I think people are going to be fascinated with your story, because it's a great example how you have the same diagnostic criteria, the same diagnosis in brothers, but
yes,
they look not the same.
And their behaviors are so different. Everything about them is so different. But I can point to when they get this specific sickness, they both get triggered, but their triggers are the same but very different. Like they display them very different. So and it's hard. It's so challenging to try to figure out what is normal, what isn't, why certain things happen.
Well, and our goal too is, I mean, we want to take care of any environmental or infectious situation, but we also have to play the long game to understand their immune systems need stability.
Yes.
So that they don't respond negatively to every little germ that they're exposed to at school.
Absolutely. And I like how you said the long game, because I think that people think we are in a society where people think, oh, you have this thing happen, you just take a pill, it goes away, right? Well, it doesn't work that way in our body. Like, it takes a little bit longer for our systems to accommodate what we need, and then to be able to fight it off. And my kids couldn't fight off anything because their systems weren't working. And in my head, I'm like, well, just give them medicine and they'll feel better. And
right.
But they don't feel better because the system is broken on the inside. It's not working. The detox systems aren't working. So, yeah, so that's helped a little bit.
So Lacey, who is a mom not far from you, says kudos to keep searching for answers when your mom's gut knows that something is wrong.
Thank you. Yes, I agree too. Yes.
Oh.
It's
Well,
a
I tell you what,
place to be in. It really can be, because you feel really alone, and even your support systems may not understand. I have a great support system. That I have a couple of people in my life that have been really supportive no matter what. There's been times where I'm like, I can't leave the house because my kids are not okay. And so some people will be like, oh, well, but other people are starting to realize I have to protect my kids. They're my number one. So when you start feeling more isolated, which is something that parents will feel, because you have to, and especially when you have multiple kids and you're being pulled in different directions, you may have a kid who has an activity, but another one who's in a flare, and you have to figure out what is the best situation to get needs met. And there's a lot of guilt in that, like picking one child over another because of the symptoms, and not that's where the need is in that moment. Missing family events, missing holidays, missing a lot of things because I choose to protect my kids over social situations or things like that. And a lot of parents go through that. It can be very lonely. And even when you're talking to it about the behaviors with other people, they don't get it, because they're like, oh, I might see it right now, but then I can go home. But you never get to not see it. You're always seeing it. So it's a hard place to live in sometimes, for sure.
Well, I tell you, you may not always feel like it, but you're a phenomenal parent to these boys. And the boys are amazing humans in and of themselves. They're like literally some of my favorite kids ever. So you're doing all the right things in all the right ways, and they're going to be all the better for it. So good on you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah. And I appreciate you. You've been a blessing to our family. So kind. Never never a word of shame, always validating. And I think that with the systems that we explore and experience in the mental health and physical health fields, that's limiting. That it just doesn't happen. So having somebody say, whatever you're doing is okay, this is something we can do to make it even better. um, it's an experience that you have to have in this type of environment to feel like you can take those steps forward again and again. And even silly things. I don't know if you remember this, but one time Leo was not doing well, and we talked, and I was bawling, and I was like, I don't know what's going on. And you're like, have you given him ibuprofen? And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course I need to give him ibuprofen. Something as simple as that we do all the time. Like those little things where when you get so exhausted in the process, it can make it hard. So I appreciate you so much. Yeah, we talk about you a lot in our house, how much we appreciate you. So
Well, it's no coincidence that our paths crossed for
yes,
sure, and that I grew up right where you live, and
yes,
like it's
uh-huh.
such a small world.
Yes, small,
So,
for sure.
well, thank you for your time. Tell Benson and Leo I said hello and I love them,
Definitely will.
and I just, I wish your family the best, and I
Yeah.
appreciate all the time you spent explaining what's going on in your life.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate these opportunities because I think as a parent, if I could have seen videos like this 3 years ago and been like, oh, okay, that's a path I can go down, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. There are other people who experience it too. So you are appreciated more than you know as well.
Well, thank you. Words are my love language, so that'll get you a long way with me. All right, Heather, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, guys, I'm done.